Arthur sits bored in his office as Roy introduces Mari to him, the newest robot maid. Curious about the invention, he decides to take a closer look. He praises the creator, clearly impressed with the model, but insists he still needs to examine the robot thoroughly. As he approaches her, the clock in the room suddenly explodes, filling the office with smoke. People scramble to find a fire extinguisher, but Arthur's eyes remain fixed on the robot. He notices that Mari doesn't flinch at the explosion. He concludes that she really is mechanical and not a human pretending to be a machine. Spotting one of the maids nearby, he accuses her of being responsible for the exploding clock. His men immediately apprehend her and drag her away from the manor. Arthur then tells his men that there's someone watching from a nearby rooftop and orders them to eliminate the spy and remove the wiretap hidden on his desk. As he observes his subordinates deal with the assassin from afar, he can't help but think about how much he despises humans. Roy enters, carrying gifts and a bouquet, but freezes when a knife suddenly pops out of the flowers. Arthur doesn't seem surprised. He remarks that humans are selfish beings who will discard their morals just to get ahead in life, which is why he wanted a robot companion he could trust. Arthur's life hasn't been easy. Since childhood, his relatives have always been after his fortune, sending assassins and setting traps to eliminate him. Unable to trust even his own family, Arthur grew to despise people. He declares that the kind of people he hates the most are those who lie to him. Mari, the robot maid, listens silently. In truth, she's a martial artist known for her stoic and expressionless demeanor in battle. She's actually a human pretending to be a robot. Inside, Mari panics. She had no idea she was supposed to keep her human identity a secret, especially from a man who has such a deep hatred for humans. Arthur steps closer and Mari's anxiety spikes, thinking her cover has been blown. However, Arthur suddenly blushes and begins to gush over her. Feeling uncomfortable with their closeness, Mari quickly announces that she'll begin cleaning his room. He gently takes her hand and asks if he can call her Mari. She hesitantly agrees, confused by his sudden change in demeanor. In the break room, Roy reminds Mari of her duties as a robot maid and informs her that she'll be attending school with Arthur to protect him. He turns to check if Mari is listening, only to find her stuffing her face with food. Mari explains that she can only eat when Arthur is bathing. Deciding that Arthur must be done, she rushes out, making sure to finish Roy's share of food as well. While running, she adds that he should prepare her next meal with more protein. Roy watches her go, slightly worried that Mari's act might fail and that they'll both end up dead for lying to Arthur. The next morning, Arthur scolds one of his butlers for oversleeping. Mari can't help but think that he's strict and intimidating. Everything he says makes sense. As they settle into the car, Arthur briefs her on their schedule. While listening, Mari realizes that Arthur's days are always packed either with studying or managing the company. He starts complaining about one of his business partners who lacks table manners. Mari silently confirms that Arthur is a harsh and terrifying individual, but she can't deny that he becomes surprisingly gentle when it comes to her. Arthur suddenly takes her hand and leans closer, telling Mari that he's learned her orders are to follow him around school and pretend to be human. He adds that if she ever finds herself in trouble, she can always come to him. When they finally arrive at school, Mari hides her excitement at being in such a grand academy. She studies the trophies and plaques on display and notices that almost all of them belong to Arthur. As she admires his achievements, two male students bump into her and scold her for blocking the hallway. In a robotic tone, she apologizes, which only offends them further since her voice sounds too cold and insincere. The boys find her strange and unsettling, but Mari isn't pretending. That's simply how she's always spoken. Even her mother could never understand why Mari's tone remains so distant, no matter what she did. Arthur suddenly appears behind her and sharply scolds the boys for harassing his maid. After they leave, Mari thanks him, and Arthur gently pats her head, saying he finds her expressionless voice and demeanor very cute. Arthur signals that it's time to leave, and Mari can't help but blush slightly since it's the first time she's received such a kind compliment. When they return home, they settle in Arthur's office, where a young man enters and greets Arthur with casual familiarity. Roy quietly whispers to Mari that the man is Maynard, Arthur's brother in name. Mari wonders if Maynard is also after Arthur's life and watches the two closely. The brothers exchange polite words of praise, but inwardly, they're cursing each other. Despite their smiling faces and kind tone, both understand the venom behind the other's words. Roy seems to catch on to their unspoken hostility, but Mari, oblivious to the tension, assumes the two are simply close siblings who get along well. Maynard excuses himself to use the bathroom. Once in the hallway, he mutters curses under his breath, frustrated that Arthur is still alive. He freezes, however, when Mari suddenly appears behind him, pointing toward the restroom. Startled, Maynard scolds her sharply. When Mari apologizes, he doesn't believe her since her face shows no remorse. Mari explains that she's a robot and incapable of showing emotion. Intrigued, Maynard inspects her closely and notes that she truly doesn't flinch or react. Impressed, he remarks that Arthur has done well to acquire such a realistic robot, but questions his brother's taste since Mari can't even smile. Mari insists that she can smile and immediately pulls the corners of her mouth with her fingers to form a wide grin. The result is so horrifying that Maynard runs away. Later that evening, Arthur sits in his office, gazing thoughtfully at the fountain outside. His mind drifts back to the day he decided to become the heir to the family business. His thoughts are interrupted when Mari enters, softly offering him a cup of tea. Noticing his distant expression, she assumes she's disturbed him at a bad time, but to her surprise, Arthur shyly asks if he can rest his head on her lap. She hesitates for a moment before allowing it. Arthur quickly settles in, remarking that her lap is hard due to her metal body. In truth, it's due to Mari's toned muscles. Getting comfortable, Arthur admits how lonely he feels, unable to trust anyone. Still, he's accepted this life, believing it's the price of being his father's valuable heir. Moved by his words, Mari softly promises that she'll always stay by his side and that he can trust her. Touched, Arthur allows himself to relax and drifts to sleep on her lap. Mari realizes she has a deep desire to protect Arthur and feels terrible as she must lie to him in order to do so. Later that morning, Arthur, Roy, and Mari wait by the driveway for the car that will take Arthur to his lectures. When it arrives, Roy notices that it's earlier than usual. He and Mari bid Arthur farewell as he gets in and drives off. A few moments later, another car pulls up in front of them. Realizing that the first car was a fake, Roy tells Mari to call the police, but when he looks beside him, she's already gone. Alarmed, Mari has taken off, sprinting down the road after the vehicle. Inside the car, Maynard climbs in and sees Arthur tied up. He smugly tells Arthur that the kidnapping was his idea, all because he found Mari irritating. He jokes that Arthur should hire a better maid next time, then laughs, saying there won't be a next time since Arthur will die today. Arthur feels annoyed since it's already the 168th time Maynard has sworn to kill him. Suddenly, a loud thud shakes the car. Everyone looks up to see Mari clinging to the windshield, announcing that she's arrived to pick up Arthur. Panic erupts inside as Maynard tries to calm his driver, insisting that Mari is just a robot and they shouldn't hesitate to shake her off. But she lands gracefully on her feet and resumes the chase, running at full speed. The car eventually stops at an abandoned house where Arthur is taken in. Maynard mocks him, asking if he has any last words before he dies, promising to take over the family business once Arthur is gone. Arthur, however, remains furious about how roughly Maynard treated Mari. Maynard laughs, mocking him for caring more about a robot than his own life. He sneers that Mari is probably broken. Arthur glares at him, vowing never to forgive him for what he's done to her. Maynard only mocks him further until he hears his own voice confessing to the crime. He turns to see Arthur smirking. One of Arthur's buttons is in fact a hidden spy camera. Arthur calmly explains that everything has been recorded and automatically uploaded to the cloud. It's only a matter of time before someone finds the video and the whole world learns exactly what Maynard has done. Maynard pales as the realization hits him that if he stays, it will solidify his involvement. So he speeds off, leaving two of his men behind to finish the job. The men hesitate at first, but then decide they have no choice since Arthur had already seen their faces. As Arthur braces himself for the inevitable, Mari bursts in and, in a swift blur of movement, she starts attacking the two grunts. The men flee in terror, leaving Arthur tied to a chair. Mari quickly unties him so they can get out. Neither of them notices the spilled gasoline and the lit cigarette smoldering nearby. Within seconds, the flames catch and spread rapidly. The building is suddenly engulfed in fire. Mari reacts instantly, realizing their escape route is blocked. She instructs Arthur to cover his mouth with his handkerchief to avoid inhaling too much smoke. Spotting a window, she tells him to use it as an exit, promising to lift him up. Arthur refuses at first, unwilling to leave her behind. But Mari insists, assuring him that she'll be fine and will find another way out once he's safe. A nearby explosion shakes the structure, making it difficult for them to see and breathe. Mari silently vows to make sure Arthur survives, even if it costs her life. Knowing he won't abandon her willingly, she decides to say what she's been holding back. She tells Arthur that she's truly enjoyed her time with him and that to her, he's someone very special. She lies that he shouldn't worry about her since her body is made of metal and can withstand the flames. She urges him to escape and find her later, saying she can simply be rebooted once she's recovered. Reluctantly, Arthur agrees and climbs out through the window. Once outside, he yells that he'll come back for her. Inside, Mari finally succumbs to the smoke collapsing to the floor. As her consciousness fades, she feels guilty for lying to him, but grateful she was able to protect him until the end. When she opens her eyes again, she's shocked to find herself lying on a bed. Arthur sits beside her, explaining that he called Roy immediately and managed to save her in time, so there's no need for a reboot. Mari feels immense relief, though her face remains emotionless. Arthur studies her, tempted to ask about the smile she showed him at the building. He decides not to, much to Roy's quiet relief. Convincing himself that the smile was just a smoke-induced hallucination, Arthur accepts it. He tells himself that falling for Mari is pointless since she's a robot, and even if she weren't, someone like her would never love someone like him. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss new episodes every week.